wonderful panel with me today, and a topic that perhaps needs a lot more introduction and thinking about. When we think about the word access, perhaps the biggest and immediate idea that comes to our mind is the idea of a wheelchair and a ramp, isn't it? It's one of the first things that we anywhere I go, we say there's no access because there's no wheel, no ramp. The first thing you do with funds is build a ramp. And yet access is so much more than these things. It's not just the physical access to a place. It's important to think about what is the function of that place. If I enter a restaurant, do I have the capacity to order my own food? Will I be able to fit under the table so that I can eat a meal with my friends? That's the function of a restaurant. If I enter a school, does the curriculum accommodate me? Are my friends able to play with me? Do I have an experience of education? That's access. Assistive technologies also make you think of things that are outside of most of our capacities. You think of engineers, and you think of scientists, and you think of machines, and you think of huge and expensive things. But assistive technologies can be very simple things, like the mic that allows the person at the back of the room to hear my voice. Assistive technology is something simple that allows a person to access the function, right? So we have today with us a scattering of stakeholders, and I'd like to start with you, Sir Jigyel. The question that I have really has nothing to do with education. It's just placing this whole conversation in a larger context. The idea that access should be across all areas of life. It should be across all environments, whether we talk about physical public spaces, we talk about work, we talk about leisure, we talk about health, finance. Where do you think today we stand in Bhutan in terms of access?
Thank you, Dr. Namita. And this is a question that really, bothers us so much. And when you did mention access is all about, not just the physical space, it's all about the mental well-being. It's all about how, a person with disability can do according to his or her will. In that sense, that's where I would like to, understand accessibility. And for most of us, when we straight away, think about access, it's always the ramp, it's always the toilets, but it's way beyond. Well, in terms of where we are today, this is a very difficult question. And as you all are aware, we don't see so much of our children with disabilities in public places, in maybe in schools too. And the reason I thought was because of accessibility. So not only about ramps, I thought it was all about other aspects of the life in that particular child with disability. Well, just to hit back to your particular question, I thought Bhutan is progressing. We are progressing towards an inclusive society. Everybody is working together. As earlier mentioned by Dr. Namita, there are other organizations that's really working together in terms of, making our children, come out in the public spaces, come out in the schools, come out in other different events. So I would say that Bhutan is progressing, but besides that, I thought it's very important for every one of us, be it a teacher, be it parents, be it civil society organizations, be it the Ministry of Education, be it policy makers. I thought this is one area where we need to push ourselves. I thought the other thing is we need to explore. We need to be innovative. And maybe later, in the later part of the question, I can share some experiences that our College of Education in Paro, how we, train our postgraduate in-service teachers
Right.
to work with assistive technology.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think the point you started with is actually a wonderful, it's a litmus test of whether we have, people with disabilities have access. If you don't see people with disabilities wherever it is that anybody else goes, if you don't see them, child or adult, that's already an indication that there is a barrier, whether it is a physical barrier, an attitudinal barrier, an opportunity barrier, there is still clearly a barrier. If you go to a playing field and they are not there, you go to restaurants, they are not there, you walk down your city street, they are not there, that's a problem. So that is an indication, certainly, and a point well made, sir. Again, I'll come back to my point that if we want progress, if we want change, it has to start from childhood. And we are lucky to have with us here the nation's first pediatric occupational therapist, and perhaps the only pediatric occupational therapist available to us at this point. Dechen, perhaps it's a good idea to start by telling us a little bit about your work, your field, because if it may be helpful for people to understand exactly what your role is.
Very warm good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for the questions, and I'm glad that I'm given the opportunity to really share what occupational therapy is, because it's kind of very new to the country. That services are kind of underutilized. At the same time, even being professionally trained, being deprived of the facilities to really provide the services. So like this platform is really going to help me how to make the service more serviceable. So occupational therapy, I remember at the same time last year explaining what really occupational therapy is. So I think being an occupational therapist in the country as well as outside, I'm destined to explain to the people for future that what really occupational therapy is. So to an OT, occupation really means the things that you do every day. It starts from eating, dressing, going to toilet, what we say now, talking with friends, making friends, going to school, going to work, meeting with people, going to restaurant, doing grocery shoppings, everything. And being an OT, and be it parents, be whoever it may be, we expect certain skills from a child. For example, say a child, okay, a newborn, we expect them to suckle. This is their occupation. You want the baby to at least eat, okay. And when they say, like when they reach 6 years old, you expect them to what? You try their shoelaces at least, eat with a spoon at least, right? And similarly, the same goes, the list goes on, right? So we have certain expected occupations in every aspect of life, in every stage of life. So my rules comes in there. They may be either not be able to fully engage in day-to-day occupation, day-to-day activities. It may be due to temporary reasons, say like they have a fracture. It may be as simple as that. Maybe they are asked to take precautions, take rest for maybe 6 to 8 weeks. So as simple as that. So our role comes in teaching them ways to engage them and then enable them to participate despite the fracture. And the reasons can be complicated, so complicated and permanent. They may have a lot of impairments in cognitive abilities. They may have impaired physical abilities, sensory, psychosocial. So their skills does not allow them to participate. So our role comes in there.
interrupt
Yes.
to ask you then a little bit more clarity. Is your work only in developing the skills, or do you also use tools to enable functioning?
Thank you so much. So it's both the ways. So it is working with the individual themselves, the skills within, the personal factors, as well as the modifying the environment and making the environment support their participations. But it's sad that the settings that we have right now, the facilities that we have right now, is so much restricted, and what we say now, so much into teaching the skills, because we don't have the what we say now resources to make the and make what we say now the things really accessible. Let's say like no, my rules comes and I'm trained to make things what we say now, make things easier for the people with disabilities. Like Dr. Namita said, it is beyond rehabilitating the individual skills. But to be honest, in the current setting, our resources are kind of limited in what we say, in contributing towards modifying the environment and providing the tools to enhance the participations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So perhaps a perfect segue then to our third speaker, Pema. Again, I'm going to ask you to start by just telling us briefly, what is this Super Fab Lab and how is it connected to disability in the first place?
Sure. So thank you for that question. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Wangchuck from Druk Holding and Investments, representing the Jigme Namgyel Wangchuck Super Fab Lab. And so basically, before we, I guess, understand what a Super Fab Lab is, I think it's important to understand what a Fab Lab is. And basically, in the early 2000s in MIT, in the US, which is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, there was a Professor Gershenfeld. And basically what he did was he received funding from the US government to kind of encourage general design and fabrication. So one of the requirements for receiving this funding was that he had to basically create learning programs and everything. So instead of just kind of having generic learning programs, he thought it would be better to implement this funding into actually creating kind of self-contained fabrication units or fab labs. So the very first fab lab that he created, it had a 3D printer, some electronics, so making like microchips and everything, and a shop bot, which is kind of a very versatile wood cutting machine. So you can basically make all different types of machinery and very basic circuitry. So he made it in inner city Chicago. It was very successful. So then over the next like 20 years, there's now 2,000 fab labs out there. So now that's what a fab lab is, and it's a very extended network filled with very passionate young people from all over the world. And basically what they have is they all have these standard machines, like I said, the 3D printers, the circuitry machines, the shop bot and everything. So what they have in that network is they share their, kind of in an open source kind of way, they share their information, they share their designs and everything. So you have this amazing collaborative community of everyone in this fab world able to share their information, iterate, improve and everything like that. And now, finally getting to what a super fab lab is. So as interesting as, as amazing as the things you can do in a fab lab, what a super fab lab does is that the super fab lab can actually make the machinery that is required to make a fab lab. So a super fab lab could actually generate like multiple fab labs by creating the actual 3D printers, those shop bots and all of those things that I mentioned. So yeah, actually the super fab lab here in Bhutan, there's only 3 in the world, okay? So it's pretty something I think as Bhutanese we should be very proud of and everything. And now coming back to what our moderator said in terms of a question, how it comes back to the disability thing. I think that here, especially in Bhutan, there's immense need to help with accessibility, as well as just general kind of enablement of all of the people who have disabilities and everything, whatever the severity. And with these types of machinery that we have, it's really amazing, a lot of these components that we can make, it would be much, much cheaper for us to actually make it. So, for example, I think one of the 80 technologies they have, one of the simplest things they have is just called a switch. And it's like a binary switch, an on and off switch. And a lot of people with disabilities like paraplegics or quadriplegics, quadriplegics, they require the switches to kind of turn on and off machinery and everything. So recent estimate, I was just watching a workshop, it comes up to about $390 to do one. And for a switch to be fabricated, and that would mean the mount, the arm, as well as the actual switch with the circuitry and everything at a FabLab, it comes down to about $21. So that's a cost differential of 95% different, you know. Another amazing...
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Huh? That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great example that you're giving of an access switch.
Yeah.
Just to give you the context, imagine that you have a profound upper body impairment. Pretty much everything is then not available to you. But today, in this very electronic connected world, if I had the ability to move any part of my body, I could actually control so many things. I could write on a computer, I could answer my phone, I could manage the light systems in my house, I could do so many things, right? And yet a simple switch, the adapters, the connectors, these things were prohibitive. I remember in most Asian countries, this is one of the first 80 tools that we actually teach anybody and everybody to create. It's something that anyone, a school student, can actually put together. And it is exactly like this, that you can bring the costs down dramatically and open somebody's life. So that was really a great example. Thank you so much for this one. Dechen, a quick question to you. I know that you work across the country. Can you give us an idea of some of the most common barriers or impediments that you come across?
The first one, the very important one, I'd like to say that the first barrier is within the parents as well as within the children. It's about the perceptions of the ability. The disability is overlooked. The abilities are underlooked. The children with disabilities are not being inculcated. The attitude of having functional independence of their own is not being emphasized by the parents. I really feel that it should start from home, from parents and all. So the main barrier is giving the confidence and giving the confidence that the child can really do things on their own despite their special need or despite the disability. The number one, very much the biggest barrier which kind of blocks to whatever interventions we provide. That's the number one issue. Number two is, of course, the rural areas doesn't have much access to the interventions that we give. It's glad that we have lot of services in JD hospitals, but to be honest, those services, we don't know whether we are on the same page. Okay, we, as Dr. Namita said, we should be keeping the child in between. So these services, the common barriers, these services are not being streamlined, not really focused to one outcome. Everyone is working in isolations in the name of working towards the children. So that's the number two issue. The number three issue is the lack of access that we are talking about, assistive technology, lack of access to things, resources that would really enable the participation. I don't mean the sophisticated technologies, I don't mean the sophisticated, what we see now, the coding, whatever, that is required, fine, but country like ours, which is really developing, there are a lot of things that we really can do to facilitate participation, to improve the independence, but the barriers lies within the community, not what we say now, not really what we say now, working towards the common goal. As simple as, let me cite an example. We have a lot of carpenters, we have a lot of workshops, we have a lot of people who handle with metals and all. So we are trained to design simple equipment, simple spoons, which will enable a child without the hand function to eat. We're not trained to be in carpenters, but we can give a design to a local carpenters to make some of it. So the problem lies within not having a clear and strengthened collaborated approach within us and the locally available people and resources to really make an impact or really make a difference of achieving the independence. That's what I feel.
Thank you very much, Dechen. I think you bring up something really essential, and this idea that access is an attitude, isn't it? It's an attitude, it's a belief in yourself that children will learn when they are allowed to be more independent, both from the perspective of the demands. I mean, it's us as adults, parents, teachers, community members who place a requirement on a child. And if you automatically assume a child with a disability cannot, will not, should not be bothered and disturbed, let him be, everybody else get up and clean the class. No, why should that be? Isn't it? It's something that needs to change in here, in ourselves, so that children may have an opportunity. But equally, there is this issue of, again, an attitude towards you being the problem solver. You think you are the parent or the teacher or whatever your role may be, and you really, you know, it takes an engineer perhaps, or maybe the government needs to go and buy us all this equipment. Otherwise, you know, you don't really see yourself as someone who will actually make the journey to the carpenter or the metal worker and say, can you make a stand so that, you know, it's easy for my student to see? Can you help me build something around a pencil so it's easy for my student to hold? So this is something then, sir, I'm excited to hear that Paro College of Education does have a focus on, you know, bringing these thoughts, these possibilities to teachers. Can you tell us a little bit about how your program is preparing teachers? Teachers do spread across the country and can be instrumental in changing attitudes and providing creative solutions. So can you talk a little bit about what is happening at Paro College?
Sure, thank you. But before I talk about what Paro College of Education does in preparing our future teachers to go out in the field and work with children with disabilities, I would like to just come back to what Dechen just mentioned about, you know, the work between the parent and the child with disability. You know, Bhutan is a very religious country. We are very compassionate. In that sense, parents love their children so much that they try to do everything for the child, you know. So what I could, it's there in, you know, numerous studies that parents are so, they have sympathy for their children with disabilities. They want to do everything. For instance, a simple job that a child can do, you know, the parents do not want that child to do because she or he thinks he's suffering, she's suffering, let me do it for him. And I believe that's where we have that attitudinal barrier that really restricts our child to become an independent, you know, to gain this independence. So that's
and
just...
that's where a parent group really can make a big difference, no? Rather than lectures from professionals.
True.
To have, you know, a peer speak is fantastic.
Yeah, true. And sorry, to come back to your question about what we do in our college, though I don't claim to be an expert, you know, I don't teach these modules, but my colleagues and all do. But what I have seen during the course of supervision, going for school visits and all, you know, when we have our teachers placed for professional experience in schools and all, we found that our teachers were our students, the in-service teachers, they were really working out very well with how you maintain all this assistive technology. The reason being, in our college, we have courses, about 11 courses that, you know, works with, that provides, the 11 modules that, you know, aligns with inclusive education and special educational needs. So in that module, I believe there are about 4 modules that really looks into what assistive technology is, you know, what these graduates, they learn what they can do given the available resources, you know. For instance, a very simple example, a pencil grip, you know. Some children have difficulties in writing, and how do you come up with an innovative idea to come up with a pencil grip? So that's where our students in Paro College of Education try to, innovate and come up with good ideas. Similarly, slanting boards. You don't need to go to town and look specifically for a slanting board. Given the available resources, the local resources, our teachers, our students, they put in their ideas and come up with wonderful slant board that's very cheap, that's available in the environment. And so that's where we prepare our teachers, we prepare our students. And just to add again, we have for these different modules, we have quite a number of assignments where we call it DIY assistive technology, do-it-yourself assistive technology, where the students, they have to put in their effort in coming up with innovation in regard to, assistive technology that would support communication, that would support daily living skills, that would support, numerous functions that a child requires to do. So in that sense, we really found that these modules really support and enhance the way our students perceive, and later when they go out in the field as a professional, I believe that's where they can really support the school, support the children, and also the parents, the families, of coming up with a simple assistive technology that can enhance the child's independence. So yes, in a nutshell, we emphasize so much on assistive technology, and it's a low-tech technology that's useful for our everyday life. So that's where Paro College of Education provides support in our students.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's really actually very exciting. This idea that we are going to pump into the education system teachers who are already primed, they understand the value of assistive technologies, and they have actual hands-on experience in working with the materials that lie around to create quick and simple and effective solutions. I think that that's marvelous. Do you also in your courses address the point that Dechen raised, which is really addressing the hesitation from families and perhaps other adults, this the cultural tendency to be kind and not expect anything from the child. I always tell parents, I mean, some of you are sitting here and you've heard this from me before, but really, kindness can kill. It can kill your capacity as an individual if you always only receive and there's no demand on you to give. Then imagine what your self-concept will be. Imagine how you see yourself. And years down the road, when you do have an opportunity, you are too afraid, you lack the confidence in your own capacity to grasp at that opportunity. So really addressing an attitude, addressing a belief system, and helping them come up with strategies to facilitate that change. Is this something that you also put deep into your program? Because it sounds like perhaps the biggest barrier. Right?
Oh yes, we have modules that addresses such issues where we talk about policies, practices, and knowledge about what inclusive education is, how we go about in supporting children with disabilities, and also like in collaboration with parents, families, how we work together in ensuring that the children with disabilities are provided with appropriate support, how we make them independent. So it comes out, again and again in different other modules too. And we talk about awareness programs. So we make our students, come up with a kind of, advocacy materials awareness programs where they could address such issues, like how a child with a disability can work together with their family members, even with the school community. So yes, we do address such issues in the programs that we offer.
Thank you. It's very, very exciting and really lifts my spirit to know that this is in place and working well. Yet, what we have looked at right now is the beginning, the sort of band-aid solutions. And we will need across the country solutions that are not low tech and simple and easy to put together. And here's where the excitement of FabLab, just knowing that Bhutan has a FabLab, that Bhutan has a super FabLab. In other words, Bhutan has no excuse. Right? So, what will it really take to move beyond the situation we are in today, which is we have nothing, to a situation where we do actually have something? Um, you have the potential to do many things. You do have, an occupational therapist, you have teachers who will have experience and knowledge and the ability to sort of generate problem statements. I believe that most of the best solutions come from parents because it's born out of their desperation to figure out, how do I get my kid up the stairs? How do I get him into his shirt? How do I get him from falling over? How do I, etc., etc. So it may not be a very polished solution, but some of the best ideas come from families, from siblings, from parents. How do we move from that to where we want to be? What will these collaborations involve? Any higher tech solution requires a level of experimentation. It requires trying something and failing. Anything that we develop is certainly like that. And I do know how much of time and cost and failure it takes before you come up with something that will actually work. What is it going to take for us to move forward?
Thank you, Dr. Namita. I think today is already a pretty big step towards that and everything. I think, just like you said, we have an occupational therapist here, and we have an educator from an esteemed institution, as well as you have me representing Super Fab Lab and everything. And basically, it really comes down to us, all three of us, taking a degree of ownership towards this and everything, because the specificity of the issues faced and everything, the technical specificities and everything, is something that from Adam here we can get. And then how to outreach actual experience dealing with people with disabilities and everything. These are things we can get from, again, our other two esteemed panelists over here and everything. Once we have that information and we understand these types of issues and everything, we can have a conversation, a dialogue, and kind of understand how we can actually develop these solutions. And these solutions, the nice thing about, like I said, the Fab network is there's already a few there's this one sub-organization called Makers Making Change, and they already have, I think, over 200 devices and 80 kind of solutions, all open source, so you can just go and print it out and everything. And who's to say now from this dialogue, a conversation happens, and already a few of those solutions don't even require design. We can just literally print out those solutions and everything at a much lower cost and everything. So that's, I think, immediately. But if we're going to move towards, I think, something more bigger and more revolutionary and everything, Dr. Namita had asked me before when we discussed this, kind of our wish list, right? And for me, I guess it comes down to this. I think there are, in terms of governmental interfacing and support on here, I think in terms of making sure that it's sustainable for Super Fab Lab also, so in terms of the cost of our materials and our design costs and everything, those would be able to be covered. Obviously not at profit or anything, but just so we can sustain the body, because it is an autonomous autonomous institution, and we're trying to make it sustainable and everything. And then definitely from our educators, as well as our occupational therapists and people in that field, we really need guidance and handholding. And one of my team members, Zina, who's actually very involved in Super FabLab, she asked me to say this. So what is the difference? I'll ask everyone here, what's common between a scissor and a 3D printer? Yeah, so what is the commonality between a scissor and a 3D printer? Does anyone have the answer? Okay. Cuts, very true. That's one there. But actually, they're both tools. So just like a 3D printer, we have all of this machinery there, and to a certain extent, my guys there, our design team and our technicians there are tools for people like you who know intimately the issues, practically, to come to us and discuss with us, so we can make practical solutions that can actually be implementable. And I think if we do this with strong ownership, we can really do something special and make a tangible difference to people in the disabled community.
I think that's very exciting. Now I'm getting really excited because things seem like they can actually happen. To know that there is an existing pre-designed, tested set of tools that you could simply make is mind-blowing. But how do people know about it? How will we know what exists?
So actually, that's again the beauty of that fab community and everything. You just have to go to the website and you can literally see all of the different solutions that are there. And I think it ranges from the more simple, very kind of practical things that Sir was mentioning, as well as more of the advanced kind of AT solutions that Dr. Namita was mentioning as well.
So let me interrupt you, because I don't want to leave this hanging, and I really want to mine this possibility. My question is really, okay, so a parent goes to the FabLab website. Whose website?
I think the parent might have a little bit of difficulty, and that's where I was saying that ownership comes in. I'm thinking someone who's an interface to the parents, like Madam over here as an occupational.
Okay.
She intimately hears about these issues every day and she sees it. So she would be able to maybe come up to us and say like, oh, there are 2-3 issues that are always there, kind of, this will have the biggest impact, and we can sit together and we can look through the templates, and then we can probably find something that would be able to help. And even if we're not able to find something, we'll be able to design something from scratch also if required. And
Okay.
that's the other benefit of fabrication. It's bespoke. We can
Yes.
create solutions
That are
individually for every.
specific.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So that's the process now that we can offer the community, which is the OT serves as the interface. The OT understands the issues, can articulate them in a language that will be understood. On the fabrication side, you can then look through the website and the existing templates, or and immediately come up with a solution, or go through a more complex process of
yeah.
design, etc. What are the costs involved in this?
So again, the whole purpose, I think the purpose of the JNW Super Fab Lab here is not really, like I said, making profit or anything. The whole purpose of it is to exist just so it can help with solutions like this, as well as provide kind of an innovation, kind of provide a platform for innovation and education about the process of innovation. I think Bhutan is a place, a lot of strength and everything, but something that we can really grow on is this idea of innovation, trial and error, iteration, don't be afraid to fail and everything. So the whole purpose there is we want people to come and design things and do things there and really figure out products, services and everything. So for us, it would really entail kind of getting into maybe an understanding or an MOU or an organization or a partnership with maybe a medical, our medical stakeholders, rehabilitation stakeholders, as well as maybe a ministerial stakeholder, and basically just getting to a point where everything is nominally covered for us. So just the cost of the materials, maybe the cost of the hours of design for our team, because they'll be intensely working on it and everything. But I will guarantee that the cost involved in creating these bespoke solutions will be, like I said before, 90-80% cheaper than if you actually outsourced it outside and everything. So for me, it's a win-win when there's sustainability and impact for everyone. So that ownership and all those stakeholders are playing an active role together in that.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited because I see then a clear path to an actual solution. and an immediate actual solution, because I think what you're describing is something that's well within our capacity. It should certainly be something that goes up on our board, saying that this is something now that we want to put formally in place and be done with this. Next year, this time, we should be sharing stories of the impact of AT, not what is AT, right? What is assistive technology? Who is an OT? We're done with that. We need to now say, here's what we created in Bhutan, and here's how we moved. We transformed the landscape of access. So thank you very much for that.
Sorry, just to add to this, I thought, in order to have this done, I believe, it's my opinion, for now, I believe everybody's working in silo, and that's where this is one of the main barrier that we, just keep it to ourselves. So I thought there should be a platform where we all come together, and then trash out ideas. And as mentioned, we have a wonderful FabLab that's really, going to, in terms of sustainability and cost cutting, these are going to be true. And for that matter, maybe from our institution, we could, recommend what low-tech,
Absolutely.
assistive technologies could, be worked out in terms of, catering to the needs of children, and similarly working together with occupational therapists. I believe if we have such a forum where we all come together, work collaboratively, things are going to be amazing, and this is really going to have an impact for accessibility for children with disabilities.
If I may add on to what Sir Karma is saying, very astute la. And in fact, another potential way we could look at this also is the actual solutions that are tried and proven and developed by Paro Nasargi institution nila. We could have it actually, we could produce it, a little easier with the design and everything at the Super Fab Lab. So these are enablers and synergies that we can all look into together la.
So that's where for next semester, I'm sure we are going to disturb FabLab.
Tap on the door.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I was going to request you to give us very specific to education, since that is your expertise. Access to education. What needs to happen so that we can really move forward?
Well, this is another difficult question again. I believe in order to move forward, it's not about the college, it's not about the teachers, it's not about the children. I believe it's all about coming together, the community, the Ministry of Education, the stakeholders. I think it's all that we need to come together and understand each other's strength and move forward. And not to leave, and work in silos. I thought that's where this is very important, that, everybody should know what's really happening in the context, what's really happening in an institution, what's being supported by the ministry, what's working well with the parents, the support from parents, the teachers, collaboration with the parents, the community. So I believe that's where this is very important, and not just to leave to one agency. So it's all about working collaboratively and moving ahead together.
Thank you very much, and I really would look forward to the next year with much greater hope. Much. Having access to assistive technologies, or AT, is something that should have been in place. It's really overdue, far overdue. So it's exciting now to sit here knowing that the solution is right here in our hands. It takes collaboration, it takes attitude. Everything else is actually here. Collaboration and attitude lies in ourselves, within ourselves. So it is certainly something to look forward to. Dechen, any last thoughts, any additions to the wish list?
Thank you so much. The things that really I wish to have so that the children with disability has much opportunity to engage and participate. So number one is, I really wish to see children with disability taking the ownership, being their own advocate. Like I said, yeah, crossing all the attitudinal barrier, making them like be their own advocate. They can be the strongest voice of all. Number two, I really wish the people in the community, apart from all of us, know what disability is, what challenges we have. Whoever is not here plays the important role, because it is to those communities that the children is really going to go and experiment, right? So yeah, I really wish to see the people who really doesn't know what kind of challenges the disability people face to involve in this cause. Number three is, like I said, I was just hoping for carpenters, but I'm so excited to hear about the FabLab. Yeah, I was just citing example of carpenters and workshops and all. Yeah, so I really wish to see. We know that all the solutions are here. We have OT, we have all the designs, FabLab, we have education system, everything. But where it can possibly go wrong, it's not happening at all, because it's not the first time that OT is here. It's 3 years. I don't think the FabLab has been here for quite some time. Even education is the oldest, but still it's not happening. We really need a very clear, strengthened, collaborative approach. Really, I really mean it. We really want to be in the same page. Really wanting to make things happen, actually. At the same time, I'd like to also emphasize on the expertise. I'm little feeling bad that I'm the only pediatric occupational therapist, but I'm not specialized in occupational therapy. I mean, I have did a general occupational therapy course, and I have dedicated myself to cater to the children's. But of course, we do need expertise, we do need supervisions from those who are very well established, yes? At the same time, I really wish that the access starts from home, not anywhere else. Let's forget about the architecture, building rents and all. It takes a lot of policies, it takes a lot of things, it's so complicated. So why not let's start the access with home, right? With home. I'm not talking about the toilet and all, right? It's so sad that parents rather choose to do things for the children than to adopt and explore things which can really make the children do the things for themselves. Yes, I really wish the change happens first from the home and in the community. I really wish there are provisions in the community where the children with disability can really experiment, sharpen the skills to really give their full participation, be really successful in the community participation. We don't have that. Yeah. We don't have playgrounds, we don't have grocery shop. There's nothing. There's no shops, there's no playgrounds. We cannot simply put the children in the playground. We cannot be putting children just into the shop and expect them to do things, right? So I really wish to have certain kind of provision for children with disability to really have that real-time experience, so that they can develop that kind of skills too. Because once they grow up, they're expected a lot of things. A lot of things are expected from them, right? So let's give I really hope to see provisions of those. The lists are so long. Let me just stop here. Yeah.
Thank you, Dechen. That was really heartfelt, and I think a perfect summary to everything that we would really want to see. I would invite all three panelists, I would request the three panelists to please take the time to put up your recommendations. Please write them down and put them up, so that we can make this, this conversation into an action item. And tomorrow we will have the start of something that, will really transform the landscape for the children of Bhutan. With this, I think, any last words? Is there anything else? Yes, please. You look like you were You had something to say?
So actually, this is a little selfish. I just wanted to thank Dr. Namita for the opportunity and Bhutan Foundation, as well as what is this organization? ADS, sorry. The whole thing, it's been quite an experience. Just also wanted to say that if anyone here is interested regarding the Super Fab Lab and all of next week we'll be having tours. It's a big event from 9 to 5. Everyone is welcome, so please come. You can take a look at the lab and all. There'll also be different events and all going on. So anytime between 9 and 5 next week, we invite everyone here to come and join us at the Super Fab Lab. Sorry.
That's fantastic. That's a great thing to know. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of footfall from participants here. I can see the excitement and the interest in this resource. So thank you. That was really important to share. Sir, anything you'd like to conclude with?
Thank you. As the theme supports about transformation, I think it's all about the transformation within. Every individual takes that step of transforming yourself, and trying out different innovative ideas, that supports children with disabilities and all. So I believe that's where when we have this transformation, then only we can provide access to our children with disabilities. Thank you.
I'd like to thank my 3 panelists. I think we've really, you've blown me away anyway at the great possibilities and opportunities that lie before us. Before we close, I'd like to open to the audience. Are there questions? Are there comments that you'd like to share?
It's just my observation that in the US, we know, as Dr. Karma was emphasizing, as individuals, we can only do so much, and collaboratively we can do, we can transform. So in the US, what I've seen, especially in Perkins, there is a assistive lab where it is MIT engineers collaborating with the teachers at Perkins and the parents there. Parents come in as volunteers. So if that is something that we can do in the future, we would definitely like to pursue with the Fab Labs.
Very true, madam. I think that is actually kind of a formalized way. Definitely, we can go forward and everything. And for us, also that guidance is there. Like I said, from the actual students as well, disabled people, as well as the parents and everything. That way, we're actually able to develop tech that's very, very practical and implementable. So that is definitely something we can look into together.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. One of the big challenges with assistive technology is it's hard to just get it right. So having the opportunity to try out existing solutions, to look. When you said there is a website, it has all these ideas, but the way to begin is for Dechen perhaps to come with a question. I'd say that is one way to go, but another way to go is really, recognizing that people don't know what is out there, and perhaps if they see what is out there, then they can make the connection and say, maybe this child or my son or my daughter or my student in my class could really benefit from this. Never thought of it. So really having access to know, to have greater awareness. I know that before our discussion, perhaps your awareness of what AT solutions exist may not have been as wide, isn't it? So really, the minute you enter it, you know in a second, wow, these are all things that we can bring and use immediately as solutions. So there is this whole component of recognizing that general exposure to assistive technologies is not high, and making these things more visible, possible solutions more visible, may already be one way to make get better sort of use of the technologies. A second thought is really this, the current suggestion of creating an active lab based maybe within a school, within a service, so that everybody has access. It's a way to change perceptions, it's a way to generate problems, it's a way to test solutions, and really ensures that that interest and engagement and sort of your brain gets a point of focus. So I think this is a second suggestion that's absolutely implementable, doable. It's within our capacity. Dechen, I think your passion is very visible, and your concern is also very, very clear. And yet, I'll say this again, I said it before, the solution really lies within us. It's not somebody who has to come up with a solution. It's you. It's you, it's everybody, it's every one of us who has to decide that this is something we need to do, we want to do, right? And that capacity lies within all of us. Can we take ownership of solutions? Can we take ownership of the possibility of moving forward, right? Any other comments or questions from the audience? Yes, love.
My name is Legden. I am the chief of the Non-Communicable Disease Division in the Ministry of Health, and as part of my work, I look after the non-communicable disease, plus also involved with my colleague here who is into this disability prevention program. So perhaps this is really the first of a kind meeting for me and conference, and I was really, really interested. And I think my colleague from the health UT is perhaps here, and a couple of thoughts that really came into my mind. The first one was that I think rightly pointed out that if we really want to improve on, I think it is the mindset that we need to improve first. And I think as a service provider, it is really important that we need to educate, to advocate, and I think this is where we are probably a little bit behind in our advocacy efforts to improve this, improve our mindset, the parent mindset of the parents, mindset of the government, mindset of the whole system to really improve this and give this collective efforts towards improving the disability sort of like providing ET services, as improving the services for disability. With this, having said that, I'm very excited to know that we have solutions, high-tech solutions, as well as we know the problem, we have high-tech solutions, and we also know where we can deliver from. We have the schools, from the colleges, where we can actually deliver the services and scale up the services. It's really important. Having said that, I have a small question to Karma, to Dr. Karma, I guess, from Paro College of Education, and not only him, but I think it's more like a general question. I think Dr. Karma really talked about the use of simple AT sort of like technologies in schools and really advocating it. I was just wondering if these have translated beyond just the teaching. I mean, what kind of impact has it made? Has it been just there as a teaching tool, or has this gone beyond and has it actually haven't had an impact on the lives of these people or children who or people with issues? That has it really made an impact? No, that is, and what is the impact on this? And if there are certain technologies, is it something that can be scaled up through the FabLab, Super FabLab? Right, so I just wanted to know if there are evidence regarding whether this has actually made an impact just beyond what we have, what we teach to our, what we advocate to our schools to get it down to our children or whatever. Right, so this is a question I guess I wanted to ask. Thank
you. Well, that was a very good question, and I believe that's pointed to me. Well, just to let you know how effectively it was delivered, I would say that our program is a 3-year-old. Sorry, it's just been 3 years since we started this program. 2020, yes, in the year 2020, we just started with the first cohort of Master of Education in Inclusive Education. But in terms of applicability, for the second years, during the final semester, they have this opportunity to go out in the schools and experience a kind of teaching practicum. And that's where, they have a project. It's a research project where they would apply all this assistive technology tools to support children with disabilities. Okay, let me cite a particular example. We have our students who conducted research, working with flashcards. And for these flashcards, they need not go anywhere to the town and buy it. They had this innovative idea from their own. They had their own innovation, and they came up with a very good, flashcards. For example, let's say they have this, what you call it as social stories, to implement as an intervention for a child who has a social communication disorder. So I could see that these students, they used these flashcards, and that's assistive technology, low tech assistive technology. So I could see that they were using this to enhance the social communication in that particular child, and amazing. It really worked very well, and they were trying to use some therapy, and they looked into all this, graphs and all, and the communication enhanced in that particular child using that low-tech assistive technology. So that's one example how it can be very effective. Yeah. So that's where we try to implement it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that question. It allows us to really reflect, I think, and complete the conversation we've been having. We need someone to help generate the issues, and we need low-tech and high-tech solutions. We need a process to develop and create an opportunity for parents and children to come and experience. We need to develop resources to help, to help change minds, to help parents understand the possibility, to help teachers understand the possibilities that assistive solutions can provide. But most importantly, we need to create a system that allows us always to evaluate our process and evaluate our products so that we create things that are truly useful, that are truly making an impact and changing lives. Thank you very much to each of my panelists for really coming here with having put so much of thought into the questions, into the topic of today. I feel very vindicated in making this selection, because I feel like we present to our community of people, all our stakeholders in the field, of people who are interested in supporting this movement of an inclusive community. I feel like we have offered a complete package, right? A solution neatly tied up. All it takes, yet again, is you, isn't it? All it takes in the end is each one taking ownership that an inclusive community can only be an inclusive community if the individuals within it take responsibility to make it so. I thank each of you for the time you've given us, and we'll close with this thought.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Namita and the panels. I think the possibilities are endless, except that we are not exploring it. Just to give you as an inspiration, I would like to tell a very short story. Through one of the research projects in Bhutan on disability, we were able to provide few numbers of laptop personal computers to Tendu Central School, which is one of the Sen school in Bhutan. And one of the boy in this school was not able to use his hand at all with his impairments. But once we provided the computers, the amazing thing is that he started typing on the computer, and today he's able to write his notes, able to write his own examination, and that has changed a lot for him. And I think that simple computer as a assistive technology has changed his life completely. And I think these are the possibilities that we can see.